So, PTTP is here at Hemel Hempstead in Hertfordshire. We're going to have a little look around the police station. Obviously, we've just finished up over at the job centre across the road. This may have been a day or two ago for you guys, but I can assure you it was literally about a minute ago for me. And yeah, the police were taking their sweet time. Oh, nearly a head-on collision. 2 units on blues coming in and out. So interesting, this vehicle was coming in on blue lights and sirens to come into the yard. That's strange. Let's see what all the fuss was about. What the rush was. So where's he going to park? He's gone right down to the corner down there, look. Interesting. Doesn't look like they're in that much of a rush to me. Unpacking their gear. Pardon? Yeah, I'm moving out of your way. What does it look like I'm doing?
I'm not gonna, there's an emergency I need to get to. I'm going to meet you by the gate. Thank you. Make sure you don't get run over, please.
I know how to look after my safety.
Yeah, thank you.
They said there's an emergency he needs to get to. He doesn't need me in the way. Not bad, yourself?
Yeah, not bad.
Good.
Have a good one, dude.
You too. I'll move out the way, don't worry. Yeah, and I'll move out the way, don't worry.
I'm not having an argument with you, mate.
I know, because you're not going to win. It's not an argument. So there we go. Got that vehicle coming out. If he can't manage to avoid to hit me from here. Oh, I'll film them all, don't worry.
Have a good day.
So he's in such a rush for an emergency, but he's still got time to stop and tell me to not film personal cars.
afternoon.
Afternoon.
How are you? You okay?
Not bad, yourself?
Absolutely fine, thank you very much.
Good.
Can you just be a little bit aware, just move to the side a little bit when the cars come out, just so you don't get run over?
Sure. I mean, obviously I can see a car coming out, it's not a problem, and if they're swinging in, they have to stop to tap in anyway, so
Super.
I'll have time to move out of their way.
Just as long as you're careful.
Yeah, no problem.
I see you've got a nice high-vis top on.
Yeah, absolutely, I always come out in a high vis.
Spot, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Everything okay?
got to stay safe, haven't you, when you're riding.
Yeah. Everything all right, though?
Yeah, not bad. Sergeant,
Yes.
2784, lovely. One of your constables is pretty rude. I know he was on his way to an emergency, so he swung in pretty quickly, and I was stood here. As soon as I saw him coming, I quickly moved over there, out of his way, so I have plenty of room to get in.
I think which way these gates open this way, don't they?
Yeah, they do open inwards. Yeah, they do open inwards. Yeah.
As long as you're careful.
Yeah. Just
absolutely fine.
have you got an emergency going on at the station right now?
Oh, there's not an emergency at the station.
No? It's interesting, because that vehicle parked over there in the corner, right by the no smoking sign. I was actually stood down on the corner down there, and I saw him swing around the blues. Nearly had a head-on collision with a unit coming out on blues, and they were coming in on blues with sirens. And as soon as they got here, turned their blues and sirens off, came into the gate, went and parked up there. Didn't know that they were in a rush getting out of the vehicle, just unpacking their stuff. So just find that quite interesting that they're using blues.
They came round the corner on blue lights.
Yeah. So obviously they came in from that road there, swung round the corner on blues and sirens. As they were coming round, a unit was coming out on blues and sirens, and literally, I've got it on footage. It was literally a nearly head-on collision because obviously the one coming out was going quite speedily in a rush to get somewhere. I do understand sometimes. Do you have a custody suite here? No. Places with a custody suite sometimes there's an emergency to get back to.
Of course.
Generally, ones that don't have a custody suite, occasionally might be some sort of emergency, but not often. I should imagine not something that units that are already here can't deal with.
So sometimes what happens is, for example, I mean, we happen to be a little bit. I know that you can see some cars here, but some of them aren't working. But sometimes we're short on cars. So what happens is the team that's just starting.
Sure.
There's an emergency that comes in. The car will come back to
on
the police
blues
station
to go
on
back
an
out
emergency
quickly
to swap cars.
Okay.
I mean, I've not.
I mean, that was a good.
It's possible.
Yeah, I mean, that was about 7 minutes ago now. So.
And a car went out on blues as well.
Yeah.
So what
the car going out on blues, obviously, I understand is on his way to somewhere.
Yeah.
But the one coming in on blues, again, I mean, I'll wait around see if that vehicle does go out on an emergency.
Yeah.
If it's not, then obviously they're coming on blue lights for no good reason, and it is an offence, isn't it, to abuse the blue lights like that.
When you say offence, in what way?
I'm not. A road traffic offence, I would believe. I don't know if it would be criminal, but I'm not sure.
Not criminal. Obviously, officers who are trained to use blue lights can use them in emergency situations.
Sure.
And if there is abuse of when people drive on blue lights, it's like an internal disciplinary matter.
Is it? Okay.
It can be something where they can, if they're not driving the way they should do, then we can look at removing their privileges to drive with blue lights.
Sure.
But again, without knowing the full circumstances, I don't know whether they've come in, they may have dropped some kit off that someone needed for an emergency to go out to.
Maybe, because there was a vehicle that had come out in blue, so maybe they were dropping that kit off, maybe. I don't know.
Possible. I don't know the circumstances.
But, so that's a fair explanation. I appreciate that, and, I love your surname, Smiley. It's brilliant. Do you allow your PCSOs to drive marked police vehicles?
Yes.
Without a constable present?
They do, yeah.
Oh, see, I'm not saying that it's wrong, you're allowed to do that, but I think, personally, it shouldn't be allowed. It's like a PCSO walking around with police across the back of their uniform. They're not.
So, going back a very long time, we used to have PCSO cars.
You did, yeah.
But, my God, that's probably a good sort of 14, 15, maybe even longer years ago. I think it was just funding and budgets. They just couldn't afford them.
I understand that, and I understand obviously money's got to come from somewhere. There's no money magic tree, but yeah, it's just a bit of false representation, isn't it? Really, if I see a police car driving behind me and a marked liveried unit, I'm going to assume it's the police. But in reality, it could just be two PCSOs in there who don't even have the power to conduct traffic stops. So. Why allow them, if they're transporting them from A to B, understandable, but why allow them to go around in marked units? I think that is a clear, and I believe it's a purposefully misrepresentation. I think it's a way of, PCSOs are cheaper to fund than a constable. I think it's a way of cutting costs, still having a marked unit out on the road, while actually, I don't know, might as well give me the bloody keys and let me drive around in it. It has the same effect. I can't do a traffic stop in that vehicle, neither can they. But the mere presence of that vehicle does diminish how people are going to act around it.
If you were to spin that a different way, you just use the words the mere presence of that vehicle.
Sure.
So the mere presence of that vehicle could prevent a crime from taking place. So would taxpaying members of the public rather have a police vehicle sat in a police station because there's no one to drive it, a police officer?
Yeah.
Or would the public who pay for their tax, etc., rather have a police vehicle driving around, being a high visibility presence with someone who can respond to an emergency in relation to stopping a car, running after someone and using their PCSO powers, and eventually prevent people committing crimes?
Yeah, but then, as you said, that you're short on vehicles. That vehicle is then not sat here ready to go out to an emergency when it's needed. That's the flip side of it.
The police officers will have priority over any police vehicle.
Yeah, but then the PCSO has to come back on blues.
To get
that constable to go out to the emergency.
The constable will already be in another car.
But that's what I'm saying. You're saying at the moment you've got a shortage of cars. So you're saying, for example, that car may have had to come back to get it out for an emergency with another constable. Imagine that happened because a PCSO is out in a liveried vehicle. Then that's the reason that you don't have.
Speaking, the PCSO wouldn't be out in a car if we were short.
No.
It's very rare the PCSOs will go out in a vehicle. It happens occasionally.
Yeah.
Sometimes they need to get to A to B. But if there is a police vehicle available and there is a police officer that needs a car, then that police officer will drive it.
Interesting. So it happened in Stevenage quite a few months back now. PCSOs were coming out of the station in a livery vehicle, pulled over, tried to say that he had the lawful right to demand my ID if he felt like he needed it. That interaction did not go so well. And he didn't even have a designation card. Do you make sure all your PCSOs have designation cards?
I was speaking to some of my PCSOs today and
Fantastic.
they all have their cards
Brilliant. This PCSO had been in a PCSO for 14 years. When I asked him for his designation card, because he attempted to use a power he doesn't have, you don't even have that power, so unless the only one you have is Section 50, isn't it, of the Police Reform Act, I think it is, or the antisocial.
If someone's acting in antisocial.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's the only time that you lawfully, without arrest, can demand identification. So
unless under the Road Traffic Act.
Oh yes, sorry, yeah, stopped under a traffic act, traffic stop, yeah. So 2 instances. The PCSO, 14 years, I asked him for his designation card, tried to show me his ID badge, and I was like, no, I want your designation card. He's like, I don't know what that is. 14 years, I've never been asked one, and I was like, it's a failing on, originally I was like, that's a failing on the chief constable, really, or his sergeant, whoever's in charge. But then the young PCSO that he was with, who literally looked fresh into the force like yesterday, asked him for his designation card. Straight away, first thing he does is pull it out, lets me have a look at the powers and that he's got. And I was like, wow, that was shameful for the 14-year PCSO. I have put in a complaint and still ongoing and processing. Hopefully he won't be a PCSO for much longer, because people like that, 14 years trying to demand ID, doesn't have a designation card, it's not the sort of people you need in your force representing you. 14 years, how many times has he potentially coerced people's information out of them by wearing a very similar uniform to what you wear? At a glance, if people don't know what they're looking for and aren't that familiar with police, a PCSO is very easily mistaken for a police officer. Very easily. I think they should wear pink high-vises or orange or a different identifying colour to what you wear. I know they wear the blue T-shirts, but
something to consider, isn't it?
Yeah, I was thinking.
I assume there's some sort of uniform policy people that will make all of those.
Yeah, absolutely, there will be. Yeah.
And I don't know whether it's a national decision or it's a local force. Or
PCSOs, from my experience, tend to wear blue T-shirts.
They do, yeah. Well, certainly in this force, they do.
Yeah.
I don't know about other areas.
Yeah, in my experience, I've been all over to different counties and stuff, and in my experience, generally they do tend to wear a blue T-shirt. But you wouldn't necessarily know that unless like myself, I'm familiar with that situation.
Yeah.
But
so what is it you do? You would I be right to call you an auditor?
Yeah.
Would that be the correct word?
Yeah, that's what some people call it. Yeah,
You pop around, make sure
it's a flex of human rights, basically.
Police officers are executing their laws.
Yeah, it's part of it. Yeah,
and the PCSOs, etc.
Absolutely. Yeah, we as you can see, I think recording. It's in a public place. Article 10 of the human rights. I'm allowed to gather information and disseminate it to the public, and allowed to receive information as well. And so I like to do that in public places. I don't just go to police stations. I've just been across the road to the job centre. They did call the police for absolutely no reason.
They called the police?
Yeah. I got bored of waiting for you guys. Obviously, now you said that you're understaffed, you're short on cars. I understand that you're busy. More important things to go for. And to be honest, I appreciate that. You're not coming on a blues to something that ridiculous.
So it's not just the police. You go to other organisations.
Yeah, I tend to stick to government owned because it's publicly funded. And in my opinion, like they have in the US, I don't think it should be right that... I understand you can have secured areas like this is, with the gates and stuff.
I'm just going to buzz this chap.
Yeah, I'll move out of the way from... Whoa, what bikes are you riding? Nice. Oh, he's got the Triumph Street Triple. That's a beautiful bike.
I'm not very good with my bike.
No.
I know a lot about them.
That's a gorgeous bike, that one. But yeah, where were we? But yeah, I understand obviously you can have like restricted areas like your car park is, gated fence, for security reasons. But in terms of like the job centre, for example, I wouldn't go up to the desk while people are having appointments. I think it's wrong that they have the open plan like that while people are having appointments, but that's an issue to take up with them. But in the public lobby area, all I tend to do is I go in and I record what's on the walls, the signage that's there for the public to come and look at. And much like I record here, I'll film cars coming in and out, and more often than not I'll get approached. Sometimes it's like this and it's a nice conversation, sometimes it's not so good, like with the PCSO. And what we're looking for is a reaction like this, really, a proportionate response. Either, hi, we acknowledge you're there, have a good day, that's it, see you later. Or if you've got the time, want to stand and have a conversation, happy to have it. But yeah, calling the police because I'm filming posters on a wall, and they only called the police after I pointed out that they're breaking GDPR, which was quite amusing. They saw that I was recording, had no issue. I go to the person taking appointments as people are coming in, and I say, oh, just to let you know... Sorry. Just let this vehicle in. Yeah, I let them know that I could see their computer screens, which have people's personal information, and as soon as I point out to them that they're breaking GDPR, all of a sudden, oh, you can't record in here, blah, 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 like, and at that point I'd already gone back to filming posters and stuff. They were like, oh, do you have an appointment? I was like, well, no, well, you need to leave. I was like, well, I'm in the middle of something right now. We're calling the police then. I was like, what a waste, But, yeah, so... But yeah, I like to flex our rights, basically,
That's not a problem.
And I said, do make sure for me personally that our government bodies are accountable, and if anything gets left unchecked, that's where corruption and power-hungry people breed and thrive, unfortunately. So I believe it is the civic duty of members of the public to make sure that doesn't happen, especially with people like yourself who do hold so much power. When you need to use it, we like to make sure that you are only using that power when proportionate. So I'd say, you've been fantastic. So you haven't even turned your camera on, which is amazing.
Don't need to.
Oh, you'd be surprised how many people do. Oh, we just turn it on every time we talk to any member of the public. It's like, no, it should be incident-specific response, really.
You can do, but let's be honest, we're just having a conversation, aren't we?
Exactly. So what's the need for it?
Exactly.
And
you're recording anyway, so
exactly.
you've got it anyway.
Exactly. And that's the thing, like, if you did need any evidence, you would actually have the power, I believe, as a witness to seize the evidence. So you could literally take the phone if you needed anything for evidence purposes. I wouldn't recommend it, but I've got a lawsuit against Metropolitan Police at the moment for an illegal search outside the US Embassy. That was a fun one. 4 armed officers with semi-automatics, and just because I refused to give them my ID.
I imagine outside the US Embassy you're going to get a different reaction than you are outside Hemel Police Station. So.
Well, but again, I would understand if I were, sneaking around, I've got a balaclava on and I'm trying to hide myself, but I wasn't wearing high vis because I didn't ride to London, fuck that. But got the training, and I'm like, I'm quite obviously overt, and I make a point of being overt because I don't want it to be perceived as hostile reconnaissance. So I don't understand. There's literally a memo from the MPCC, isn't there, about auditors, and the hostile reconnaissance is by its very nature covert. So, but yeah, and stop searches can't be used as a retaliatory force because I refused to ID. What he wanted basically was to try and find my ID on me in my pocket, which I don't go out with. So what's the point? But yeah.
Right, well look, if you have any problems, let us know, but as I
say,
the main thing is just stay safe.
No worries. So it's now been 21 minutes, Sergeant, and that vehicle still hasn't moved out, so I don't think they were coming back for a vehicle for it to be used to come out. I would like it if you would check up to see if there was equipment being transferred to another unit.
Have you got the video that I can view, so I can obviously start my inquiries now?
Do you want me to have a look? You want to have a look now?
If you've got, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I don't normally stop recording, but I actually did it earlier for somebody as well. But because I feel no threat, I feel like nothing bad's going to happen, I will happily stop and show you. Yeah. Right. If you can, Sergeant, that'd be grand.
No problem.
Cheers. So yeah, I showed the sergeant the footage. He's got the number plate of the vehicle. He's going to do some inquiries to basically find out if there was a need for that vehicle to be coming in on blues. Like I said, that vehicle that came in that was giving me a bit of lip obviously went back out on blues. It may have been transferring equipment over to that vehicle, which is a legitimate and fair response if that is the case. I would completely understand that, but like I said, this is what we're here to do. We are here to hold them to account and make sure that the use of their powers is proportionate. So yeah, it's good. The sergeant's been very, very cordial, very nice, and a nice conversation with him, basically just telling him about my auditing history and experiences. So but he's been happy to stand there and listen. I bend his ear. Yeah, I don't normally tend to stop my footage for constables, but exceptions can be made. I made 2 today. And interestingly enough, both were for sergeants of Hertfordshire. No, was Luton Hertfordshire or was Luton? No, Luton was Bedfordshire, wasn't it? But yeah, still both sergeants who were respectful, cordial, happy to take the time to come and talk to a member of the public, building that bridge, building relationships with the public again. I think what they've seen is so much relationship breakdown with members of the public because of auditors exposing the bad apples. That these sergeants do need to make this conscientious effort to come and have these conversations and restore that faith in the public, in the police again. So hats off to these 2 sergeants, really. So I've noticed these spikes up on the top wall here. and that's quite interesting. So obviously they're anti-climb devices, so people can't climb over and breach the secure area. What's interesting about these though is whilst they are legal to have on the top of fences and walls like this, what would be illegal is if on the other side of the wall they had a small ledge where the spikes were not visible, and because then if somebody were to climb over, although they would be trespassing, what you're doing is actually setting a trap, so it would be unlawful to have the spikes in that way. But yeah, it's an interesting one. So just if any of you do want to secure your property, you have to make sure that these spikes, barbed wire, whatever you're using, are visible. What's the crack, Sergeant?
Hello. As I guessed, and what my original guess was correct.
Yeah.
So there was an emergency that needed to be attended to.
Sure.
And the officer who was going to go didn't have a vehicle. So he's requested the officer who came in on blues to return his vehicle so he could go to the emergency.
I see, okay.
As he's pulled in, or as he was almost probably coming around the corner, the officer has managed to locate a vehicle. Yeah. So they've effectively passed each other.
So that's what's happened.
Back in. So it was going to be a swap of vehicles so he could go to an emergency.
Yeah, but it wasn't necessary in the end.
He found a vehicle last minute.
Brilliant. Well, I'll tell you what, Sergeant, I was just saying to the camera, I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you looking into it and taking account what's needed to be done there. You've been fantastic, and funnily enough, as I said earlier, I stopped my camera for a constable again earlier. I don't normally do that. Also a sergeant, Bedfordshire that was. But so I really hope the attitude and professionalism that you have does trickle down to your constables and PTSOs, and I really appreciate you, and we need more constables like you in the force.
I appreciate your comments.
Yeah.
Very kind.
All
you
right.
have a good day.
You too.
As I said, main thing, keep safe.
Will do. You too. Take care. Yeah, so there we have it, guys. That is Hemel Hempstead Police Station. And what can I say? That's twice now I've had sergeants come out and interact, and you couldn't ask for any better from either of them. So huge pass there for Hemel Hempstead. We're going to be moving on to the next one, and I think, if I remember correctly, the next stop is Hemel Hempstead. The plan for today, I'm at Hemel Hempstead now. The next one is St. Austell's, or I don't know, something like that, and then Harlow to wrap up before I go home. And yeah, that's going to be your lot, really. For now. So yeah, I'm glad to see that the police didn't turn up to the job centre for a man with a camera. I think even the sergeant, by the look on his face, thought that was a little bit ridiculous. Yeah, we're going to wrap up, guys, and move on to the next one. Until then, stay safe, remember your rights, and hopefully you guys get interactions with nice constables like that sergeant. And ta-ra!